I was 8 when Dad left. No big fight I could remember. No goodbye note. Just one day he was there reading the newspaper at breakfast. The next his side of the closet was empty. Mom said he needed to find himself. I didn't understand. I just missed him. The only thing I had was his old address, the apartment building where we lived before the divorce. Mom moved us to a smaller place, but I memorized that address like a prayer. Every year on his birthday, I made a card. Crayons at first, then markers. Later, watercolor paints I bought with allowance money. Happy birthday, Dad. I miss you. Love, Mia. I never wrote angry words. I never asked why. I just kept sending them, year after year. Age 9, age 10, all the way to 24. 17 cards. Mom asked once why I bothered. They probably go straight to trash, she said gently. I shrugged. Maybe, but maybe not. I never expected an answer. Then came my 25th birthday. I was living in a small apartment downtown, working as a graphic designer, trying to build a life that felt like mine. The day was quiet. Coffee with Mom, calls from friends, takeout planned for dinner. Around noon, the doorbell rang. The mailman stood there, older man, gray hair, kind eyes I vaguely recognized. Package for Mia Thompson, he said. It was thick, wrapped in brown paper, my name and address handwritten. I signed, thanked him, closed the door. When I opened it, my breath caught. 17 cards, all the ones I had sent. Perfectly preserved, edges only slightly yellowed. On top was a letter in unfamiliar handwriting. Dear Mia, my name is Mr. Harlan. I've been the caretaker at your father's old building for 30 years. Every year on the same date, a card arrived addressed to James Thompson. I kept them safe. Because every year on the same date, a man came to the mailbox, read the card, and left without taking it. He asked me to hold them. He said one day he hoped he'd be brave enough. I'm retiring next month. The building is being sold. I thought you should have them back. And maybe this too. Enclosed was a small envelope, Dad's current address, and a short note in his handwriting. Mia, if you're reading this, I'm ready if you are. Dad. My hands shook. The cards I thought were lost were cherished all along. I never stopped reaching out. Turns out, he never stopped listening. I sat on the floor of my apartment, the package open in front of me. 17 cards, one for every year. The first was from when I was 8, crooked letters in purple crayon. Happy birthday, Dad. I got an A in spelling. Love, Mia. The next, age 9, with stick figure drawings of us fishing. Age 10, a pressed flower from the park we used to go to. Each card more mature than the last, but the message always the same. I miss you. Hope you're okay? Love, Mia. They were all there, in order, not a single one missing. Some had faint creases, as if they had been held many times. Tears blurred my vision. I turned to Mr. Harlan's letter again. He wrote that Dad, James, would come on his birthday, always the same day, always alone. He never took the card, he just read it, stood there for a long time, then asked Mr. Harlan to keep it safe. He said he didn't deserve to take it home, Mr. Harlan wrote, but he couldn't bear to let it be thrown away. My chest ached. All those years I thought he didn't care. He had been there, reading every word, but too ashamed to answer. I picked up the small envelope with Dad's current address, a city 3 hours away, and the note in his handwriting, the same handwriting from when he used to leave me notes in my lunchbox. Mia, if you're reading this, I'm ready if you are. Dad. Mom called that afternoon for birthday plans. I told her about the package. She was quiet for a long time. Then, do what feels right, honey, but be careful with your heart. I stared at the address. I didn't know if I was ready, but I knew I couldn't ignore it. Not after 17 cards, not after knowing he had read every one. I thought the cards were lost in the mail. They were kept in a mailbox, waiting for the day someone was brave enough. That day had come. I sat on the floor for hours, the cards spread around me like a timeline of my childhood, each one a memory. The glitter glue from age 11, the pressed leaf from age 13, The photo of me in my high school cap from age 17, all kept safe, all read by him. I called Mom that evening. She came over right away. When I showed her the package, she sat beside me, reading Mr. Harlan's letter slowly, her eyes filled with tears. "He was there," she whispered, "all this time." She told me things I didn't know. How Dad had called her once, years ago, asking if I was okay. How he sent money anonymously for my college books. He never stopped caring. He just didn't know how to come back. I looked at his note again. "I'm ready if you are." My hands shook as I typed his number into my phone. I stared at the screen. Delete. Type again. Delete. Mom put her hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to do this today," she said. But I knew I did. Not for him, for me. I pressed call. It rang twice, then his voice, older, rougher, but unmistakable. "Hello?" I couldn't speak at first. "Mia?" he said, voice breaking. "How did you know it was me?" "I've waited for this call every year on my birthday," he said. "I just never thought it would come." Silence stretched between us. Then I said the only thing I could. "Hi, Dad." He started crying, not loud, quiet, like someone who had held it in for 17 years. "I'm so sorry, Mia. I was scared. I was ashamed. I didn't know how to face you after what I did." I listened. He talked about the guilt, about reading every card, about driving to the old building every year just to feel close to me. "I never stopped loving you," he said. "I just didn't know how to be the father you deserved." I cried too. Not angry tears, healing ones. We talked for hours, about everything, about nothing. When we hung up, he said, "Can I see you?" I said yes. The surprise wasn't the package. It was the beginning. I thought the cards were one way. They were the bridge he was waiting to cross. We agreed to meet at a small cafe halfway between our cities. Neutral ground, a week after the phone call. I arrived early, ordered tea, sat by the window watching snow fall softly outside. My stomach was in knots. What would he look like? Would he be the dad I remembered, tall, laughing, throwing me in the air, or someone else entirely? The door opened, bell jingling. He walked in, older, gray at the temples, lines around his eyes. But the same walk, the same way he scanned the room until he saw me. Our eyes met. He stopped. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he walked over slowly. "Mia," he said, voice barely above a whisper. I stood. He looked like he wanted to hug me, but wasn't sure if he should. I stepped forward and hugged him first. He held on like he was afraid I'd disappear. We sat, talked. About safe things first, my job, his apartment, the weather. Then deeper. He told me why he left. "I was drowning," he said. "Lost my job. Felt like a failure. Thought you and your mom would be better without me dragging you down." I listened. No anger. Just sadness for the years we lost. He told me about the cards, how the first one arrived and he cried in the car, how he went back every year. "I read them and felt like the worst father in the world," he said, "but I couldn't bring myself to answer. I didn't think I deserved to." Tears in his eyes again. "I was ashamed, Mia. Still am." I reached across the table and took his hand. "You're here now," I said. He nodded, squeezing my hand. We talked until the cafe closed. When we stood to leave, he hugged me again. "This time," he said, "I'm not going anywhere." I believed him. The surprise wasn't just the package, it was the second chance we both needed. I thought the cards were my way of holding on. They were his way, too. The months after that first cafe meeting were slow, careful, and full of small miracles. We started with phone calls, once a week at first, then twice, then almost every day. Dad told me about his life, the jobs he took, the places he lived, the loneliness he carried. I told him about mine, the friends I made, the heartbreaks, the promotions, the quiet nights when I missed him most. We didn't rush forgiveness. We earned it. Mom met him for coffee after a month. She was cautious, but when she saw how he looked at me, like I was the only thing that mattered, she softened. "You've grown up, James," she said. He nodded. "I had to lose everything to see what I had." Noah, my younger brother, was harder. He was only 3 when Dad left. Barely remembered him. Their first meeting was awkward. Noah kept his arms crossed. Dad didn't push. He just said, "I know I wasn't there. I don't expect you to call me Dad, but I'd like to earn the right to be in your life." Noah didn't answer that day, but he came to the next dinner, and the next. By summer, we had new routines. Sunday walks in the park. Dad cooking his old spaghetti recipe, the one I loved as a kid. He came to my apartment warming party, met my friends. They saw the way he looked at me, proud, careful, like he was afraid to blink and miss a moment. One evening, as we sat on my balcony watching the sunset, he handed me a small box. Inside were all the birthday cards I had sent, the originals, plus copies he had made. "I kept them close," he said. "They were the only thing that kept me going some years." I cried. He hugged me. No more words needed. The surprise wasn't just the package on my 25th birthday. It was the father who had been waiting all along, ready for him to come home. I thought the cards were my way of holding on. They were his way too. And now we're both holding on together. The first Christmas after the reunion was quiet, but full of light. Mom invited Dad to dinner. It wasn't easy. She set an extra place at the table, but didn't say much about it. I arrived early with Noah and Emma helping Mom with the roast, setting the table the way we used to when I was a kid. The doorbell rang at 6 p.m. Dad stood there, holding a small gift bag, looking nervous. Mom opened the door. They looked at each other for a long moment. No words, just a nod. He stepped inside. The kids froze in the hallway. Noah crossed his arms. Emma watched with wide eyes. Dad looked at them. "I'm not here to force anything," he said softly. "I just wanted to be here, if you'll let me." Mom spoke first. "Sit down, James. Dinner's ready." We ate. The conversation was careful. Mom asked about his job. I talked about my work. Noah asked one question. "Why did you leave?" Dad answered honestly. "I was scared. I felt like a failure. I thought you'd be better off without me." Noah listened. He didn't forgive that night, but he didn't leave the table either. After dinner, we moved to the living room. Dad pulled out the gift bag. "I brought something for everyone," he said. For Mom, a small photo album. Pictures from before he left, moments she thought were lost. For Noah and Emma, handmade wooden puzzles he made himself. For me, a new card. He wrote it himself. "Happy birthday, Mia, and Merry Christmas. Thank you for never giving up on me. Dad." I read it aloud. Tears fell. We hugged, all of us. Not perfect, not fixed in one night, but a start. The tree lights glowed, the fire crackled. For the first time in 17 years, the house felt whole. I thought the cards were my way of holding on. They were, but they also gave Dad the strength to hold on too. And now, we're holding on, together. A year has passed since that first Christmas back together. The house feels different now, warmer, fuller. Dad comes over every Sunday. He helps Mom with the garden, plays board games with Noah and Emma, tells stories from his own childhood. We still have quiet moments. Sometimes Dad gets lost in thought, and I see the guilt in his eyes. I squeeze his hand and say, "We're here now." He smiles, and the moment passes. Mom and Dad aren't getting back together. They've both moved on in their own ways, but they talk, they laugh, they parent together again. Noah calls Dad James. Not Dad yet, but he stays longer when James is around. Emma hugs him goodbye every time. Last Christmas, Dad brought a small gift for each of us, a photo album he made from old pictures he had kept. On the last page was a photo of me at 8, holding a birthday card I had made for him. He wrote underneath, "Thank you for never stopping." We cried together. The cards I sent weren't just paper and ink. They were the thread that kept us connected, even when everything else was broken. And now, we're weaving a new story. Together.